For those of you that are new to Follow Boss, welcome. It's really awesome and a pleasure to have you here. These sessions are geared towards really giving you a cheat code for how to implement these things a lot faster. Sometimes it's really good to see what other people are doing. And Barry, with being so sophisticated and the awesome career that you've built, Barry, I think a lot of people look to you for guidance and advice. So thank you as always for showing up and imparting some wisdom. I know that we appreciate that about you.
No, yeah, my pleasure.
But today's session is turning smart lists into your daily workflow, and specifically how Barry's used it to sell over 850 homes a year. So if any of this seems overwhelming, don't worry. Our goal isn't to overwhelm you and say, holy crap, I can't do what Barry's doing. Not at all. Our goal is to hopefully impart some wisdom, give you some ideas that you can turn around and implement today. So with that said, let's kick it off, Barry.
All right, sounds good. So before I start, so when we're talking about smart lists, all we're talking about are saved search filters. So you decide what it is you want to look at, you save it, and we call that a smart list. And so I'm going to share my screen. So this ribbon at the top of the CRM, these are smart lists, okay? And a lot of you have asked questions about usage, right? Like, how do I get my agents to do it? Well, there's a couple of things that I started doing that are kind of simple, but have made a pretty profound impact. The first thing I want you to start doing is I want you to start numbering your smart lists, right? So you notice 1, 2, 3, 4. This is because currently when I make a smart list, so for some reason it looks weird right now, but when I make a smart list, I can share it with everybody, right? But I can't order it for everybody. So they've got to go in and they've got to move it around on their own. So the easiest way to get them to order the lists the way that you want them is to actually number them. The second thing that I have found is that really helps. Let me refresh because the UI is kind of weird. That really helps is filtering your lists based off of last communication. So like, so you see here where I've got a list of all of the leads that my agents have converted, right? So they've spoken to them, and these are stages. Stages are really important. And where stages get confusing is when we turn a stage into a lead source. Mm-hmm. As soon as you do that, it's like, wait, what's a stage again? So the way that I use stages is very linear, right? So, you know, I don't know them. I know them a little bit. I know them really well. I'm going to know them the rest of my life, right? Like it's like a timeline. And so for me, I really didn't care what determined a good lead versus a warm lead versus a cold lead. I just wanted my agents to catalog the lead after the conversation. So you notice here are my stages ABC, hot, warm, cold, and then I did the timeline. Don't get caught up in the definition. This is about triage. But what I did was I said, all right, for this particular list of nurture, show me all of the leads my agents said they spoke to, because that's what those stages mean, that we have not spoken to in the last 2 weeks. And in the last 2 weeks that we haven't tried to speak to them, they've been on my website. So the reason why this is so profound and so simple is smart. When Whitney calls or texts Virginia, the second she does that, she disappears from this list. And one of the things I started to find, you know, when I was doing this is by removing what should I do first, what should I do second, and what should I do third, by removing that question in numbering and by filtering the list based off of stage and last communication, I noticed a trend. My agents were no longer having to use the creative side of their brain, and they weren't having to analyze anymore. They literally could just, every day they know they start on list 1, then they go to 2, then 3, then 4, then 5. and they know that it takes them a little while, but eventually they start to trust the list. And so they stop wondering, who have I spoken to recently? Or wait, why am I calling this lead again? They just instinctively start to trust the filters. And I watched the time that they spend inside of the CRM has increased by 33%. And the talk time, so the actual time they're having text conversations and phone conversations, increased by 20%. And it's because,
That's awesome.
we have two sides of our brain. We've got the creative side that tells jokes or tries and is very gregarious. And then you have the other side of the brain that is pragmatic and logical. And by not making the pragmatic and logical easy and figuring it out for them, we're taxing the other side. And so they get tired faster. And,
Right.
and so, this quote automates your smart list. And it also makes it easy for the agents to use because they don't have to try to find the good stuff anymore.
You've made it actionable. You made the data actionable.
Right. And, this, I don't know why, but a lot of follow-up boss users aren't using these types of filters, in my experience anyway, and talking with them, because when I show them, they're like, wow, this is so much better, because the lists start thinking for you. Many are still doing okay, here's a list of all my A's. Here's a list. But then you got to go through each name. Who wants to do that? Right? I don't want to.
It's like having a million to-do lists when you can't even power through a single to-do list in one day.
Exactly. So in Luke, what's great about this is Luke's asking, how do I get my agents to use the phone number, the follow-up boss number? Well, what's great about this is if they're not using it, and they have to actually take an extra step of logging the call. If they don't, their lists are all messed up, right?
Mhm.
So because for me, I'm filtering based off of last communication. If they're using their cell phone, then they've got to take the extra time to go in and log it. Otherwise, their lists get messed up. Now, my best agents really get kind of squirrely about, well, just about everything. That's why they're so good. And they say, oh, I'm not calling from my cell. I'm calling from a weird number. Isn't that going to hurt? And I said, no, call the leads. You're going to speed up by using the dialer. And then when the lead, you start showing them homes and they're your client, upgrade them. Say, hey, I've been calling you from my computer. Let me give you my personal cell, right? Like hand it off, and nobody's ever going to care.
They're not.
But
they're really not.
Yeah, no, exactly. So, I mean, I don't know if you want me to, like, there's so much I could say, man. So you're going to have to reel me in a little bit.
So here's a question for you, because I think you had alluded to this a little bit a second ago. The overwhelm, or the sense of overwhelm that people have, is I want to sit down, I want to organize my CRM, and I'm organizing my smart list. I think this is smart because, again, we've taken the data, we made it actionable. The less you have to think when you sit down to do the actions, the better.
Mm-hmm.
But like, where do I start with my lists?
Mm-hmm.
Do I start with my sphere of influence? A lot of you, I always tell agents, you should have multiple fishing lines in the water. So leads from different lead sources. So how do I start to prioritize the smart list that I build out first, second, third, and fourth?
Well, I actually think it starts by not inside the CRM. I think you need to stop for a moment and think, okay, what is where do I foresee business coming from? Mm-hmm. Or what do I find myself looking for that maybe is inside of my database? And
right.
And so, the cool thing about this is there's a couple different business models. So I created a whole masterclass for Ylopo users around these 12 lists. And these 12 lists, I decided I would help the agents find opportunities alongside of me. So my ISAs, my automation. And so, list 1 through, and I'm going to give you my rationale. So this maybe will help them break it up. But list 1 through 3.5 for these lists is finding new relationships.
Right.
Okay. So where do I go to find my new relationships? And then, for me, it's new,
Right.
and then it's old, but I've never spoken to them and they're active. So now they're important. And then here's ones that AI is spoken with.
Right.
From there, let me focus on the relationships that I've started to form. So this is hot, warm, and cold, right? So these are people I've spoken to. And here's the rest of the hot, warm, and cold. And then you've got your sphere of influence that's active on your website,
Right.
another list of hot, warm, and cold, and then all your cold and past clients that are recently active. So now you can go in and look at your closed past clients and do, the last 30 days. So let's pan it back out for a second. What I said was new, and I broke up the new into different categories.
Right.
Then the people that I've spoken with, and I've broken them up into different categories. And then all the other people that don't have a real estate need right now, but they either know me personally or professionally, and I need to stay aware of what they're doing. And so, if you break it up into those three chunks, you're always going to have the ability to, split it off in different ways. So
Yeah.
if you're running ads and the people are using your website, so you generate the lead and they actually use your stuff, well, that gives you the ability to parse it through in different ways. I just created another set of lists. So my agents have a new problem. Okay. So I'm going to take you through the reason why I did this. First of all, I wanted to do it, but second of all, I have a new problem. My agents, I have a lot of really hardworking agents, and over the years that has not been the case for me. And so now, instead of forcing my agents to work alongside of the ISAs, now there's a lot of opportunity waiting for them. So what I've done is I said, all right, show me everything that my agents are currently showing homes to right now and is currently under contract right now. So you can see they're showing 37 and we have 76 under contract. Okay. And so these are the ones that they got them. They're theirs.
Right.
Then these are all the people waiting on us. So the people that raised their hand, right? The people that spoke with AI, the people that spoke with our ISA, and the people that are engaging our HomeBot report.
Right.
So now these are new relationships. Again, see, so I've got my current relationships, then my new relationships, then the people that I've spoken to that I'm trying to figure out what to do next with. So these are the ones that I've converted. This is my past clients in Sphere. And then this is the past clients that I haven't spoken to in the last 90 days. So you just saw me.
This has got to be great for forecasting too.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. To be able to see what's in the pipeline.
Yep.
Absolutely. So this new problem is an example for you guys that are watching. These lists, it's not like you create them and then they're fixed, because what you're looking for changes as your business changes, as the market changes, as inventory changes, as your lead source change. And so I think we just need to get out of the mindset of, all right, this is how you're supposed to always do it. No, what are you looking for? Just ask yourself right now, and I'm not kidding, when you go into Follow Up Boss, what would you love to see? Some of you are saying, oh, I'd love to see hot leads. I'd love to see leads waiting for me that I need a response for. I'd love to see, well, let's just do those two, hot leads and leads I'm waiting for a response for. Okay, well, what's a hot lead? For me, a hot lead has specific tags on it.
Such as?
Ylopo adds them. Why priority tag? Hand raiser tag. So our IDX website, full disclosure, I work for Ylopo as well. And so the IDX website adds those tags when the lead does something important. And so I created a list to look for those tags. Okay. And so those could be my leads, but then I don't want to see the ones that are from a year ago. I want to see the ones that are active right now.
Yep.
So I'm going to filter based off of last site visit. And then I'm going to filter based off of last communication, because if I tried to call them yesterday, I'd rather not see them today. I'm going to, and maybe it's 24 hours, 48 hours or whatever.
Right.
Okay. So that's my hot leads. I just created a list figuratively speaking with you guys, now a list of people waiting for me to respond to them, right? So, there's all kinds of ways you could do last email, last text, last phone call. You can do talk time, like how long you've spoken to them. There's also the inbox, right? Like you could just click on the inbox if you're using your follow-up boss number.
How would you handle, for example, let's say your hand raisers? So HomeBot is a product that we've often talked about, or even anybody who has what's my home worth landing page. That's somebody who's raised their hand. How urgent, or what sort of filters do you put in place there? Or what's this sort of expectation? You should follow up with this lead from this lead source in this amount of time?
So that's a great question. When the HomeBot integration for HomeBot and Ylopo, when they engage the lead, a tag is added. So there's the HomeBot engage tag. Okay. And so now I know that engagement has taken place, but I don't want to see old engagement. I only want to see engagement recently. And so if they've been on my website recently and they've got this HomeBot engage tag, and, again, I go back to stages. For my team, lead stage means we have no idea if it's a good lead or a bad lead. No one has converted it. My ISAs haven't, nobody. Closed, well, you say, well, why would you want to see all your closed and past clients that are engaging HomeBot? Well, because I'd like to sell their house again. Right. And then contact stage, that's our trash. We don't trash anybody unless they're weird or mean. So contact is where the person does not have a real estate need right now. We spoke to them and they said, I don't need any help. Don't call me. And so we changed them to contact stage. Well, I'm including the contact stage because things change. And I'm using the consumer's behavior of their website activity to help me to know. And then I also added that their address is not empty. So, if I've got their home address, I want to see that lead there. So that's the HomeBot one.
Awesome.
And,
so,
go ahead.
No, go ahead.
So past client communications, right? So one of our stages is closed past client. And last communication is longer than 3 months. So now what if I wanted to, I could just come over here and select all 125 people, do batch email. And so what this allows me to do is to target my messaging, right? And instead of sending the email from me, I'm going to send it from the assigned agent. And so if I want to send an email for my agents to their sphere of influence and past clients, I can do that. Now, this is a big responsibility, right? You got to, if you're going to do this, you need to do it right. Otherwise, you're going to make a lot of people mad. But this is an example of being able to target your messaging at scale very easily. So like nurture is anyone that we haven't spoken to in 14 days, that's been on my website in the last 14 days, that we labeled hot, warm, and cold. And so the reason why we do this is, let me give you an example. So cold stage leads aren't necessarily something that people really focus on a lot. You talk to them, they said they really didn't have a lot of real estate related need. So this lead, Tuwanga Cherry, that's an interesting name, was on my website 5 hours ago. And they've been in my database since May of 21, and we marked them cold. They're still cold, but they were on my website. So I'm not prioritizing this list based off of only hot, warm, and cold. We get it fixed in our mind. The person told me a year ago that they weren't serious, and they're stuck in that unserious stage, whatever that is, instead of saying, all right, the person said they're not serious, but their behavior is showing me that they should be back on my radar.
They're actively looking at your website the last 3 days in a row and favoriting like 8+ properties.
Exactly.
So somebody asked a question, and I know I might have lost it, but at what point do you get to the point of having like too many lists? And how do you kind of reel that in?
I will, like a true philosopher, answer the question with a question. At what point have you highlighted too much of the page? There is a
That's
point where
awesome.
you've highlighted too much. What that point is different for everybody. For me, if I'm highlighting more than probably 35% of the page, just fold the page of the book or something like that, like, because it means nothing anymore. So,
Raise your hand if you've ever highlighted more than half the page.
yeah, exactly. So Cesar, I might not have told you exactly what to do there, but it's about what do you want to focus on? And I would tell you, man, if I was sitting next to you, I would tell you more than likely you're asking that question because you're logging in and you're overwhelmed by what you see. And so the thing, follow-up boss, that's supposed to make your life easy is actually the thing that complicates it. And that's because you haven't mastered your CRM. And if you're doing any type of digital online marketing, I'll tell you that I think the cornerstone to success with digital marketing and lead conversion is mastering your CRM. And he said, correct. If you share your Cash App with me later, man, I'll send you that $20 for making me look smart.
That's awesome. How do you coach your agents into sort of following or what is your daily and weekly workflow look like? So on these days, you're going to go through this list. On these days, you're going to go through this list, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah. So that's like anything, it's slowly adjusted because, when I had agents that weren't working hard, I had to, I don't want to go down that rabbit hole. Basically, their needs were different than agents that were dialed in and had a long list of people waiting for a call back. And so my ask of my agents, super sneaky. I ask them for 30 minutes a day, 5 days a week. Now, I do that because 30 minutes is just enough time to get into a groove.
Yeah.
And
not so much that you feel overwhelmed and say, screw this, I don't want to do it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And, and I've actually recently started using another bolt. See, the cool thing about Follow Boss is so much bolts onto it. And, so I'm able to use as a lead management, like Octum, having it like manage all of the agent's activity. But I asked them to do 30 minutes a day. And once I changed these lists to think for my agents, I've watched their follow-up time just go through the roof.
Well, it's like you said, it's a lot more pleasant experience than when you're fumbling around trying to make heads or tails of the data that's in there.
Right. Well, and there's some things I think, there's a couple of agents that are asking about agent usage and things. And so let me tell you guys, all my automation, and man, do I automate a lot, is all keyed back to stages. My agents know if they want to talk to me about a lead and they like a lead, they're going to change the stage to hot, warm, cold. Basically, if they leave the stage in lead stage or ISA hot stage, they're communicating with me, or contact stage, that they don't want the lead. And so after 21 days, I set up an automation. And I said, if it's in one of these stages, I want you to automatically move it into one of these two ponds.
Oh, wow.
So on day 21, a tag is added in the action plan that says lead audit. And so then I went to automation, said anytime the lead audit tag is added and the stage is in one of these stages, I want you to send it to this specific pond if there's no priority tags, nothing important about the lead.
Yeah.
And then I created another automation that says on day 20, if it has one of these important tags, move it into the important pond. So my agents know that the stage is how they tell me they want to keep a lead. And one of the ways that they get flagged is if they have a good lead, but there's no communication.
Right.
So going back to answer the questions about how do you get your agents to opt in, if it's not in Follow-Up Boss, it didn't happen.
Right.
So if the stage doesn't get changed, don't get mad when the lead goes to the pond. You know how this works, Agent A and Agent B. And then if the lead or if the agent is saying they are calling their leads, and I go in and see that there's no talk time or no dials, then I'm
It's
going to
not,
say,
if
hey,
it's
you
not in
haven't
the
done it.
CRM, it doesn't exist.
Exactly. And then they'll say, oh, well, I don't want to have to call, log everything. Let's see. So we got some more questions. I want to make sure everybody's.
See, so I used to coach a large real estate brokerage. We generated leads off of pay-per-click, Zillow lead buys, et cetera, et cetera. Everything that Barry's saying right now in terms of lead flow coming in and then sitting down, we used to either coach our agents and train them up to success or coach them out, right? That's how you say it. You coach them up or you coach them out. I used to manually sit down and go and talk to the agent and say, hey, you got 9 or 16 leads last week, but you haven't followed up with any of them. Oh, I did. It was a bad lead, or no, I had the wrong contact info. But the CRM tells me the last time you logged in was 21 days ago. We used to manually reassign those leads, right?
Yeah.
Barry's just automating the entire process, which is awesome.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I'm lazy, but I don't want to go broke. So
right.
The way I merge those things is through setting up these rules. And I've just been very clear. My agents know if they want Raya to shut off, change it to hot, warm, or cold stage. If they want the email action plans to stop, change it to hot, warm, and cold. You can automate.
Because at that point, it's on the agent to, like you're saying, the agent is building the relationship. They're in the relationship building stage.
Right. And they get to control it. But where we may go wrong as a team lead is we say, turn this dial for this and this dial for this. No, just like you've got your things, just stay there. So, and then communication based on action plans. How do you integrate communication based on action plans?
Megan, could you elaborate on that one? And then as she responds, I'll go through here. So Patricia had asked, are you establishing your lists? And that's like, these are your lists, stick to them, or do you allow your agents to go ahead and organize their own list their own way?
No, it's definitely my list. And if there's something they think is missing, they know to come to me and we kind of talk it out. And so there's a lot of instances where I've added things and changed things because of, my agents bringing stuff up. I think there's a culture of collaboration that needs to take place to have that. Mm-hmm. And in times past, my agents were just looking for a handout, and that's taken a while to. I'm only hiring people that want to be their own business owner and that don't need me. That's all I'm looking for. If I have a call text that prompts built into action plans, do those only show up in tasks, or are those integrated into smart lists? Yeah. So if you want to have a prompt to call or text, you would do that in one of two ways, right? You could say last call longer than 3 weeks, last text longer than 3 weeks, last sent text, and you could do it that way. You could just do last communication, and that would lump it all in there. Mm-hmm. We don't use. So just so you guys know, the whole theory that I'm sharing with you behind these smart lists become your action plan. We're so used to like logging in and saying, here's all my tasks today. The problem is my agents were logging into tasks. I call it task hell, because you would go in to see how you're a failure. You just log in, you got like these 300 past due tasks. For us,
as the weeks or months go by, then you just have this impossible overdue task list that's like 18,000 tasks due.
Right.
And it's impossible to bury yourself out from under it, or at least that's the feeling, right?
Yeah, exactly. I can't tell you how many times I've emailed into Follow Up Boss support and level set, hey, can you clear out my entire teams? I've done it like 4 times. And so now my agents use tasks when they have something that's due on a specific day. If they need to remember to do something in the coming weeks or months, we're using last communication to show us in the list. So Megan, my example of past clients that haven't had communication in any form from the agent in over 90 days. So instead of creating a task for every 90 days, the list is telling us what to do.
Awesome. So just a reminder for you all, yes, this webinar is being recorded. We'll make sure it's available to you all who registered on both the YouTube channel and later in the Follow Up Boss community. So no worries. And then Matt, what's up, Matt? Long time no see. Just had a quick question on the lead audits. So Barry, I know we talked about that. That sounds like some awesome automation.
It's actually pretty basic.
Yeah, I know, but it's like what you're doing is you're automatically baking in like the system of accountability.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Right. So I actually got this idea. It's a conglomerate of Jeff Moore, the super geek, and I actually taught Jeff Moore what Zapier was, and now he knows more than me about it. That's irritating. Anyway,
That's
Jeff
awesome.
Moore and Albert. And basically all new leads have an audit action plan. So you've got like the Zillow action plan or the Ylopo action plan, but you have a second action plan called lead audit. Day 1, day 3, day 10, day 15, and day 20. And so it's just a tag that's added. That's it. And that tag allows me to then use, I've got all these different automations going that are checking. Has there been more than 3 minutes of a phone call on day 5, for example? And so if there has been, when that tag is added, if it's been longer than 3 minutes and the stage is still lead, I'm going to create a note that notifies the agent, hey, you've talked to them for more than 3 minutes.
What's up?
You want to change the stage, right?
Yeah.
So, let's see. Able to use Smart List to track manage transaction from offer to closing. You can. They haven't been designed for that though. Transaction management. I would use the deals section for that. And then Cesar with changing the stages and all that stuff. Put it to you this way: when you look at your database, who are the people that's going to be your next commission check in your head that you wrote down on a piece of paper somewhere or a note in your phone? Okay, those are your hot. The people that like you call them back when they call you and you know there's going to be business there, but right now you got to focus on the people that you're going to be transacting with next. Those are your warm. And the people that answer the phone that want to one day buy or sell a home, those are your cold. So notice how I didn't give you like, because that's just not, I mean, y'all are driving down the road, eating a Big Mac, life's crazy. You don't have time to analyze the data. You got to use your instincts. So, but you log into the mobile app and then you change it to hot, warm, or cold inside of your Follow Up Boss app.
That's awesome.
Are part of a smart list criteria in place to make sure all people in Follow Up Boss. So I embedding the farm in dynamic remarketing and AI reaching out. So total Ylopo fanboy because I'm biased. Okay. But so I'm only highlighting people that have earned the right for us to look at them again. Believe it or not, after 10 days, if they haven't responded to any of our stuff, they disappear. And the only time they come back on our list is if they've done something. Website activity, AI activity, email activity. They have to earn the right for us.
Awesome.
Anyway, but yeah, we're looks like we're way over.
You guys are awesome. Thank you so much for being here, tuning in. I know if we continue to ask Barry questions, he'll keep walking us down a whole bunch of rabbit holes. But thank you so much. If you have any follow-up questions, remember this webinar is recorded. We'd love to hear your thoughts on other areas that you might be struggling or feel like you need a little bit more of a deep dive. Just let us know over in the community in the comments or reply to this email. We'd love to schedule some new awesome content for you guys. Barry, as always, appreciate you. You're the man.
Yeah, man. All right. Have a great rest of your day.
Thank you guys. I'll talk to you soon.
All right.
Bye.